Today, an American board certified telemedicine.
The Senate has resumed the screening of President Bola Tinubu's ministerial nominees. We are now live in Abuja to cover all the proceedings. Let's watch.
In private sector, driven healthcare economy. I founded Dialysis Care Center to focus on providing access to care to underserved community in the United States of America. Today, Dialysis Care Center is operating hundreds of multiple clinics in various underserved communities in the United States. I'm proud to say Dialysis Care Center is one of the top 10 dialysis providers in the United States today. One of the top 10 dialysis providers in the United States today. But for all I've done in providing and continue to provide access to care in the United States, I never forgot my home. I continue to advance the delivery of care in my country. In 2001, I was one of myself and 3 other Lagosians facilitated the donation of over hundreds of millions of dollars worth of hospital equipment to the government of Lagos State. These equipments were donated by the government of Cook County in Illinois. Our able Senator Okwemi, a majority leader, Senator Okwemi Bamidele, can attest to this. He was a cabinet member in Lagos State then. Also in 2000, myself and 3 other Lagosians supported a very unique healthcare initiative that was initiated by our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was then the governor of Lagos State, Jigi Bola. Myself and 3 other Lagosians facilitated the donation of over 500,000 pairs of reading glasses to the Lagos State government. These glasses were donated by Walgreens Pharmaceutical, the largest pharmaceutical retailer in the world. My work in advancing healthcare delivery in Nigeria was not limited to Lagos State alone. Over the past 2.5 decades, I have participated in hundreds of medical missions to several parts of the country, directly delivering care to underserved communities in the remotest part of our country. I also have a foundation that is funding several of these medical missions. My work in advancing care in Nigeria is not limited to direct patient care alone. On the policy front, in 2015, I was invited by the then former President Muhammadu Buhari Presidential Transition Council on Health as a subject matter expert to help develop a policy document on how we can adequately fund our education. I'm seeing some answers from the Senator. Just give me 1 minute. More recently, up to about a few weeks ago, I was a member of the President Bola Tinubu Presidential Advisory Council on Health. I worked with 4 other brilliant and very dedicated Nigerians. We've developed a health policy blueprint that this current administration intends to use in radically transforming our healthcare sector. Beyond the policy area, I'll quickly go to what I've done in the government sector. I was privileged to be appointed the chairman of Igbobi National Orthopedic Hospital Igbobi. Within 2 short years of being the chairman, together with the board members, we undertook expansive infrastructural upgrade in this hospital. We built few of the things we did then. We built a brand new modular theater with 8 surgical operating suites. We built an intensive care unit, the largest intensive care unit in the country. We built a 32-suite amenity ward. We engaged in a public-private partnership to bring the best diagnosis services to the hospital. I'll stop here because I saw some of the senators are raising their hands. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Okay. In conclusion, as a firm advocate of private sector-driven healthcare, I believe we need larger participation of the private sector in our healthcare delivery system. What currently exists today, where about 60% of the healthcare expenditure is out of pocket. Patients are paying out of pocket. This is not sustainable. We need to engage the private sector to quickly help in advancing early transformation of our healthcare system. This will actually stem what we're seeing now, this huge medical tourism, where we're spending about $2.5 billion every year. Thank you.
Senator Wasiu.
Thank you, the Senate President, Your Excellency Senator Godwill Akpabio. I remain Wasiu Eshinlokun-Soni, representing the people of Lagos Central, by extension Lagos State and Nigeria. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Confucius once said, education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. This is Dr. Tunji Alausa from Lagos State. At peace with himself, not proud but not arrogant. One of us is suave, urbane, cerebral, dynamic, resourceful, and kind-hearted gentleman. Dr. Alausa has been very helpful in the health sector of Lagos State. Let me say that the various health missions, the Eco Club, were undertaken from US to Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. It was part and parcel of those health missions. You will recall, sir, and I'll quote Martin Luther King. He says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what have you done for others? In that regard, I will say that Dr. Alausa has used his knowledge, expertise to serve the people of Lagos State pro bono without collecting a dime. He has been also a member of the Presidential Campaign Committee on Health, where 4 of them, work on the health policy of the present government. Dr. Alausa is well known to us. Those of us from Lagos State, starting from Senator Abiru, we were with Senator Abiru in his office, and we found him worthy, and we concluded that we're going to support him for this position. Let me say that today, I want to invoke the principle of reciprocity. Our friendly disposition to other nominees from your various states. We've been quiet, observant, and we've not asked any injurious question. So, most distinguished senator, I commend to you your support for our own Dr. Moruf Olatunji Alausa. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Abiru.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as the chair, and my distinguished colleagues. I congratulate the nominee, and perhaps I don't think I have much to say again than to queue behind my brother, distinguished Senator Eshiloku, that I fully support and also appeal to my colleagues to support the nomination of Dr. Maruf Alausa. But I mustn't just take my seat just like that, because again, Dr. Maruf Alausa happens to be my constituent. He belongs to the Lagos East senatorial constituency that I superintend as the senator representing, and particularly from Ekpe local government. Like he had said by himself, he's an accomplished physician, with specialty in chronic diseases such as kidney and hypertension. And equally, he's over 30 years of practice. He has proven to be an accomplished professional, both in the private and the public sector. And what is more intriguing is the fact that the way and manner that he had conducted his practice, he has also made provision to also serve the underserved, that is, people who cannot afford Medicare. And also he's made tremendous contributions in terms of research work and publications that will continue to enrich his profession. And of course, he was also a member of the Presidential Advisory Council, particularly under the health subsector that ushered in part of the plans of the of our current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. I also will appeal to all my colleagues to fully support his candidature as a minister of the Federal Republic. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
A point of order? Order what?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent Kogi West from Kogi State. Order 55, Rule 13. Senators shall attend the sitting of the Senate properly dressed in known traditional and formal attire. Senator Wadada. You are not properly dressed.
No time. It's like no time.
He's not properly dressed, sir.
Senator, distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Karimi, your point of order is sustained. Distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, sitting as the chair, Dr. Maruf, my name is Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, Oyo North. I was going through your CV, and I'm impressed. Today, in the United States of America, where I know you know the place very well, over 35% of the resident doctors there, foreign doctors, are Nigerians, which means we have the manpower, they have the brain. Number one, what are you going to do to stop the brain moving, migrating from Nigeria to America or Europe? Two, the facility in Nigeria today are not there, what are you going to do in case you find yourself in the Ministry of Health to bring our health care, even if you can't match them 100%, but to the level where you have the confidence to see a doctor in Nigeria? More than 80% of my colleagues here, if ordinary headache, they would rather stay home instead of going to the hospital. Because the fear is that the equipment are not there. But we know we have the people that are capable to do the job. If you find yourself there, what are the things you can do to retain them? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as chair, my distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee, congratulations, and like it's been said, your work so far is acknowledged and we appreciate it. But I have a concern, which is that I've always insisted, that to develop this country, there are key sectors we need to focus on, which is education and healthcare. They are the key two sectors to develop Nigeria. Now, in the health sector, we are so concerned that the Constitution recognizes health to are falling under concurrent list, which means both at federal, state, and in fact, the local government, everybody is intervening in the healthcare sector. This has led to so many duplications, confusions, and so much uncoordinated activities going on in that sector. Now, this National Assembly wanted to help this system to be sure that there is universal health coverage. And we passed a bill where 1% of the CRF is dedicated, just because we want to make sure health gets to the lowest level. But till now, Mr. Nominee, the big problems still remain. And all the grammar we speak about healthcare, the whole thing ends up with the outcomes, what we are interested in. And the outcome, as we speak, is as bad as maternal mortality rate is still over 814 by 100,000 live births. Infant mortality rate, very bad, 70 for every 1,000 live births. Under 5 mortality rate, very bad, over 100, about 104 by every 1,000 live births. So what are we going to do differently? Because we've been going around this. State governments are making effort, local governments are making effort, but the coordination is not there. What are you going to do different? Because this is the key to our success. That coordination, to be sure that we bring down these indicators slowly, so that we can have healthy citizens, that if we give good education, we'll be productive and we'll be on our way to developing the society. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting in the chair, my distinguished colleagues. Mr. Nominee, let me start by saying that I'm very impressed with your CB. I went through it. We are very proud that a Nigerian could attain this kind of achievements. So congratulations. Having said that, Mr. President, let me start with the famous dictum that health is wealth. A healthy nation is also a wealthy nation. Primary health care, secondary health care, tertiary health care are the responsibilities of local government, state government, and federal government, respectively. Unfortunately, the primary health care and secondary health care are not functioning well. And tertiary health care has been overburdened. The heavy congestion of patients in our tertiary healthcare institutions. If eventually you are assigned to the Ministry of Health, what can you do to ensure that primary health care, secondary health care are shared among the different arms of government so that each section of the healthcare will function efficiently and effectively. Lack of health care is making Nigerians to go for medical tourism, particularly in Europe, Egypt, and India. As a professional of international repute, what can you do to reduce medical tourism in Nigeria? Billions of dollars have been spent by Nigerians. While we have so many Nigerians, as said by my colleagues, in Europe, America, and the Middle East, that are serving in the healthcare delivery in various countries. Thoroughbred professionals like you, what can we do to bring them so that we will stop medical tourism? Thank you, Mr. President.
Dismissed Senator Tambora.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, my colleagues, the nominee, let me join my colleagues in congratulating you for accepting to come back home and serve our dear country in this capacity, despite all of your achievements and what possibly you may continue to enjoy if you continue to serve elsewhere outside Nigeria. Being a professional, and in view of the situation we are facing in Nigeria today, whereby so many medical personnel and professionals in other fields are leaving the country for greener pastures. If, peradventure, you are appointed as Minister of Health, what measures and initiatives are you going to introduce to arrest the movement and mass of our professionals outside Nigeria and bringing them back home so that we together can turn around our Medicare and medical system in Nigeria? Thank you very much.
Dismissed Senator Abbas Wakili.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Aminu Abbas, Adamawa Central. Mr. Nominee, my questions is related to the last two questions, but I want to put it in a different way. There is argument that health tertiary institutions shouldn't be run by government, should go private. And those proponents of this private sector participation are saying that it will reduce the brain dry and as well as medical tourism. Now, if you hold this saying and you want it to go private, how will you now advise the government vis-a-vis the health insurance coverage of Nigerians? Thank you.
So, distinguished Senator Yaradua.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, representing the good people of Katsina Central. I'm from Katsina State. Dr. Moruf Tunji Alausa, I want to congratulate you for being nominated by our most respected president. And I've seen you have a very rich CV. You know, some of us are locally trained here, but from your CV, you are based in the United States, and I've seen that you have been named one of the America's best physicians in 2007, 2012, and 2020. If you are confirmed by this Senate and you are appointed to be the Minister of Health, one of the challenges we are facing in this country right now in our medical or in our public hospitals is that the medical ethics that you know, which is very efficient both in Europe and the United States and other developed nations, where patients and medical practitioners are very, very careful to ensure that they don't make mistakes. In the event a patient dies, usually there will be a medical board. Here in Nigeria, a lot of people die in our hospitals due to negligence of doctors and some other medical practitioners, both in our public hospitals and the private hospitals. And no medical board is constituted to investigate this type of issues, except if probably the patient is a highly placed person. What will you do if you find yourself as a Minister of Health to ensure that our public hospitals and the private hospitals abide by this medical ethics? Number two, I have seen in your CV that you are a certified nephrologist and a kidney expert. Though I'm a layman, but I think most of our public hospitals, I don't think we have efficient kidney centers. You can see that most of our people in Nigeria here travel abroad if they have patients with kidney problems. Right now, one of our own, the former Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ikweremadu, who, because of his daughter in search of her health, traveled to UK. Today, we all know where he is. I believe if there are efficient kidney centers in Nigeria, probably he wouldn't have traveled abroad to seek for medical attention for his daughter. So my question is, if you become the Minister of Health, what will you do to ensure, being a kidney expert, to ensure that we have efficient kidney centers so that Nigerians in the future will not have to travel abroad? Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, so many people want to ask questions. So because of that, so you won't lose a track of the questions. Let's give him an opportunity to answer, and thereafter others can ask. Please.
Thank you, distinguished senators. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, distinguished senators. I'm very happy, quite impressed with the variety of questions that have been posed to me. This just vindicates my impression of this august house, that we're very, very passionate, dedicated Nigerians are assembled to really move our country forward. most of these questions are actually, they fall within one realm. Which is just, we don't have, a healthcare system now, it's really suboptimal. Except for the question that Senator Yaradua asked on liability insurance issue, I'll address that later. And the other question from Senator Abdul Fatai Buhari on the JAPA syndrome, I'll come to those two. But the other questions falls within one main category of what we have now is not working the way it should. I'm a fervent believer in private sector-driven healthcare economy. That is how we can fix it. We need a very good payer system. If you don't have a payer system, you cannot fix this healthcare system. If we continue to do what we're doing now, where the larger chunk of the funding is coming from government, they say if you do the same thing, don't ever expect to see a different result. You will see the same result. We need a robust payer system. I would like to commend the Ninth Assembly. They did something very futuristic. They passed two landmark bills: the expanded National Health Insurance Act and the provision for the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. This is really, these two bills, we can really use it to create a linchpin, a launching pad, how we can build a very robust payer system. What we now need to do is to encourage international insurance companies to come into the country to support, to complement these small, scattered third-party payers that we have today. Big multinational companies like United Health, Humana, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, they will come. We have the population. Once we start getting these international companies to come, they will bring in the technology, funding, robust platform to complement what we have. What we would quickly see is that we will have a private sector where we have a huge sum of money going into the pool, and then the National Health Insurance Scheme can now begin to function as a regulator of the private health insurance sector, and then act as the operator of the government part of the scheme. Because we already have the Basic Health Provision Fund that has dedicated a pool of money to vulnerable population. Young kids, infants, mothers, elderlies. So we can use that money to fund those vulnerable groups. So what we would quickly get to, we will have what operates in America today, where you have the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, taking care of the vulnerable group, and you have robust private payer system taking care of the other people. Once we've done that, we now have enough resources coming into our system. What we're worried now about JAPA syndrome, doctors going abroad, would naturally start to get better. I'm a physician, and I'm not trying to be very partial here, but I know with certainty, anybody that trains to be a doctor wants to serve humanity. Care for their patient. It's not about money alone, poor economy, but they don't have the adequate infrastructure to care for their patient. It is very, very frustrating. And that's why we see this massive outward migration of doctors out of the country. We need to fix our healthcare infrastructure, and beyond that, compensate our physicians adequately. We also, to now begin to address this JAPA syndrome of people going out, once you've adequately compensate your physicians, fix infrastructure, you provide enabling environment for them to work. Now, we also have to start engaging our diaspora doctors, we engage them to come. Once the right environment is created, they will come. A lot of people we want to serve our country. Now, beyond that, we also need to quickly increase the pool of the doctors we're producing. We have about 50 medical schools in the country. Government can provide special funding to these medical schools to double the number of doctors that are being produced. So, on that. Now, I would like to quickly talk on a very, very important, Senator Alausa, sorry, you said something about how can we get the sub-national government to take care of the primary and secondary health care system. Now, the federal government cannot force the local government beyond the federal funds being allocated. The federal government cannot force them to do what they have to do. But what is lacking here is there's the National Council of Health, which should be a meeting of the federal minister and the governors, where really health policy issues should be discussed. This council is not functional. They meet probably once a year or twice a year. This is not optimal. The National Council of Health should be really re-engaged to serve its purpose. And that's why we can get the sub-national government to do their role, to do what they need to do in terms of primary care and secondary care. Now, Senator Audu, you asked a very important question of the way medical liability. Now, literally, there's no regulation. Anybody can just, any healthcare provider can just kill a patient. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. There's literally no consequence. We can't operate a healthcare system like that. We need to set up, like what obtains abroad, quality regulatory boards at the federal and at the state level. These quality regulatory boards would actually begin to credential and certify healthcare facilities, and patients who felt they haven't been treated well can report to those boards, and then the medical practitioner license will be withdrawn, will be suspended. Once that begins to happen, people will be accountable for their actions. That's one thing that is lacking and we need to do. Also, you said something that is very passionate to my heart. This is what I do with the lack of kidney care centers here, namely dialysis clinics and transplantation service in the country. You know, it's about you don't have the funding. Averagely, one session of, even in Nigeria today, one session of dialysis cost about 25,000 naira. If you have to do at least, at standards you do 3 times a week, Nigeria they do twice a week. That's 50,000 naira a week. In a month, 200,000 naira. Even if you're a multi-millionaire and continue to do this, you will expend your money. One of the major causes of bankruptcy in the world is lack of health insurance coverage. Once we now have a robust payer system where the insurance pay for the dialysis, they pay for transplant, clinics will spring up. This is business. They follow where the money is. We can now begin, what we have now, our healthcare sector is only contributing less than 2.5% to our GDP. We need to really invite more private involvement, where we can quickly increase year over year contributing GDP by 5%. If we're able to do that, in 4 years, we can get our GDP to the GDP get the GDP to about 22%, where we have the health sector contributing to it. Today, in America, 22% of the GDP there, the healthcare accounts for 22% of GDP. That translates into $3.3 trillion spent. If we're able to do the same thing here, we can quickly bring in a lot of money into the healthcare sector, and what will happen, we'll create a healthcare sector that is even bigger than the oil and gas sector. And what will happen, compared to oil and gas, healthcare sector, has a heavy need for manpower. What we can quickly do, if we get to that level, now we'll engage a lot of young unemployed citizens coming into the labor force, getting decent job, paying government taxes. We can do this. We just have to have focused leadership to get this done. I hope I've answered all the questions.
Not totally. I see the hand of distinguished Senator Idiot. She's representing Lagos. Maybe there is something you did in Lagos that she wants to bring forth.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, before you is Dr. Tunji Alausa, a health practitioner of decades of experience. If confirmed, Dr. Alausa will be an asset in the balance sheet of Nigeria. And I've listened to him. He has explained to us all of his exploits outside of this country, in the private sector and the public sector. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dr. Tunji has proved to all of us that he has what it takes to run the Health Ministry if confirmed. Distinguished senators, I recommend Dr. Tunji Alausa for your confirmation and plead for the understanding of other senators. And I take the leave of the President of the Senate to please allow Dr. Tunji Alausa to take the leave of the Senate. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, just in case there is something that happened in the Southeast so that we don't marginalize Southeast. Distinguished Senator Nweboye, your hand has been up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Dr. Alausa, from your records, you may be the next health minister. And if that happens, I want to bring your attention to two things. One, if you go through our pharmaceutical stores across the nation, 50% of the drugs there are fake drugs. What can you do to avert this, in knowledge of the fact that NAFDAC is an agency under Federal Ministry of Health? Number two, medical profession today is being overtaken by quacks more than any other profession in Nigeria. As a health minister, what can you do to stop this menace in view of the sensitive nature of the medical profession? Because when you go to the rural areas, you see those that have a community health certificate conducting surgery, and in most cases leads to loss of life. As a health minister, how can you tackle this? Thank you.
Senator Nweboye, you actually spoke my mind, because I was waiting for distinguished senators to ask him about the activities of quacks. That even as we speak now, 5 people must have died today as a result of the activities of quacks. Nurses are doing surgery in private domains. Even people, dispensers in the chemist, are also giving injections. And a lot of people are dying. I've had a personal family experience in 2019, and I was going to ask him, so outside the fake drugs, the issue of quackery in the system. But there is one question that has not yet been asked. So I don't need to be the one to ask. So let me give the opportunity to Senator Kalia Dahawa. And I think Senator Kalia, you are also a doctor. You're a doctor. Okay, let me see whether you ask that question. If you don't ask, I'll ask, then he will close.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Dr. Alausa, I just want to ask you a straight question. And I'm asking you as a doctor, and a private doctor for that matter. One of the biggest problems we're having is the leadership don't want to face the truth and face the doctors, in my opinion. There is a report of World Bank, I think it's of 2017, and I tried to corroborate it yesterday, and I found that they said in our urban areas, 80% of the private hospitals are owned by doctors working in government practices, receiving salary of government, and at the same time operating private hospitals. And by so doing, you have a situation whereby the private is no good, the government is no good. Because you cannot divide your attention and have 100% output. Will you be able, if you are appointed Minister of Health, to face these challenges head on, so that all this quackery that is happening in our hospitals and in our other places will be taken head on, so that at least something can be done to save the situation? Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, distinguished Senator. Senator Neda, I've seen you. I've seen Senator Dankwambo. But Senator Dankwambo, your question may be related to the financials. So go ahead.
Thank you, the Senate President. Let me start by congratulating the nominee and also to congratulate him for having this very nice CV. My question, sir, the nominee was given opportunity in the last administration to be one of the top advisors on health. And today, when you go around our federal teaching hospitals and federal medical centers, the situation is very bad and requires very urgent attention of the government. When I was elected, I think the first people to meet up with me are the people from the Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe. The situation is so critical. People are just sitting there. The equipments are in bad shape. The environment is not good. And delivery of health services are challenged. So I don't know what motivates you to come back. But what will you do different now to ensure service of health service delivery is different going forward from now? Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Onawo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Dr. Alausa, congratulations for your nomination. My name is Senator Mohammed Ogoshi Onao. I represent Nasarawa South. I am bothered by the spread of serious life-threatening cases as a result of accidents or gunshot wounds and life-threatening issues that are taken to hospitals that doctors or nurses will refuse to attend to such patients because there is no police report. I know you said just a while ago that doctors want to serve humanity when they decide to go into the profession. Now, if an accident happens in an environment where there is no police at hand and the patient is dying, should this patient die because there is no police to give a report? What can you do to forestall such? Thank you.
I think that is a very good question. There are a lot of people with gunshot wounds, not through their faults, sometimes as a result of stray bullets, are dying in various hospitals because the hospitals have refused to treat them, waiting for police report. That if he's given an opportunity in the health sector, what will he do to stop the loss of lives of innocent citizens? We will allow you to answer that. But I just want to add one more question. If you are given an opportunity, what will you do to assist the poor people who are daily being detained in various hospitals in the country after treatments? A lot of poor people who cannot afford 2,000 naira, 1,000, 5,000 to pay for medical treatments are being detained for days in various hospitals in the country. And I know this, if you are one of those who move around, particularly during your bed days and you try to go around the hospitals, you'll be shocked that some people after delivery of children, they are not able to pay the full bill and they are being detained with the newborn babies in various hospitals in the country. And these are federal medical centers, federal hospitals and state hospitals. They are not allowed to go home. They are told to stay there until they pay. Is there any form of arrangement that you will do that can cater to settle the medical bills of these very poor people who are suffering in the hospitals, not through their faults? That's the question. And the Senate President, you may add the question so that he can answer, because if he can't solve all our health problems today, we have to take other people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Mr. Nominee. My name is Barozi Brinkano North. Still on the plight of our referral hospitals. Most of the cases, medical cases that our people go through in this country are the likes of malaria, colds, and so on, that can be treated at the primary healthcare centers or clinics. But yet, most of these people that have this kind of medical challenges go to referral hospitals, especially in the cities. They go to the teaching hospitals, thereby overstretching the capacity of the referral hospital. Whereas it's only cases that are complicated are supposed to be, taken to the referral hospitals. So what are you going to do to change this trend? Because we are overstretching our referral hospitals, right? So what are you going to do if eventually you are confirmed and maybe the president feels that you should be the Minister of Health. What are you going to change the trend? Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished senators. I'm very, very excited with these impressive questions. Senator Barrow, I'll take your question first. Absolutely, the tertiary hospitals are very, very highly overburdened. And it's just because the primary healthcare centers are not literally non-functional. Senator Alero alluded to that. What we need to do, we need to go beyond just building infrastructures. What we're saying is, oh, we built one primary care center in every local government in the country. We're going to double it to 2. And now we have, I was at a presentation as part of my work on the Presidential Advisory Council, meeting the CEO, the Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Agency. He told me, I said, we have 10,000 primary healthcare centers in the country today. Less than 30% of these centers are functional. So they're there, but they're deserted. No community health worker, no nurses, no physician there. But once we begin to really realign our priorities, we get this, what we have today, we don't need to build anymore. Let's be honest with our people. It's not the structure, it's what goes in there that matters. Once we begin to adequately equip this, what we have now, provide the needed personnel there, Senator Barrow, the people will go there. If I live in Castina, city of Castina today, there's a primary care center that's 5 miles from my house, and I know if I go there at 9 p.m., I'll meet a healthcare provider there. I'll go there as a citizen of Castina. I will not drive 2 hours to go to the city to go to a teaching hospital. So what we need to do, we define our priorities, get this, what we have now, get them functional. And we can do that. We just need focused leadership to get this done. Now, I'm going to go to the question of the Senate President about people being detained. After, this is really very pathetic. It's sad. But then, the way to get this done is to have a payer system. And today, the basic health care provision fund can actually provide for those patients, but it's not being operated well. The Senate has done its own. You've passed this fund. It's a percentage of the federal budget, but it's not being managed. The National Health Insurance Agency they're not managing this fund well. So there's already a solution for that. This kind of patient can get rolled into this program that we already have, that are existing. But there's so much disconnection in the way those 2 programs are being managed. So,
please, because the public will be very interested in what you are saying. The question is information dissemination. Now, you are saying that the Senate had already provided a solution by passing a bill that was signed into an act, providing, what do you call it?
The bill is the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. The funds are there. And that in the funds, let me tell you how the funds was apportioned. 55% of the fund is meant to, 55% of that fund is meant to go to the National Health Insurance Agency, while about 40% of that fund goes to the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and about 5% to the National Emergency Management Agency. But the way those funds are being managed, nobody knows.
Now, if you are given an opportunity to be a Minister of Health or to work in the health sector, how will you manage the fund? What modalities will you put in place? Want to even let the farmer and the poor people in Nigeria to know that there is succor provided by government through legislation, and that those funds are actually there to assist them instead of they are being detained in hospitals weeks and months after their surgery and after deliveries. What will you do differently to make sure that the public is, one, aware, and two, impacted by these funds?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fixing this problem is actually quite easy. It's just to build synergy, but before then, aggressive orientation and education of the public to let them know of the availability of this fund. And that when I say build synergy, we can now get the National Health Insurance Agency that has a large pool of this money to now begin to enroll patients like this. Now, if a patient gets to the hospital today, if they don't have coverage, they know the fund is there, they can apply for emergency health care insurance coverage. And we'll mandate the National Health Insurance Agency to approve the coverage within 48 hours, once they've gotten the biometrics of the patient. And once that's done, once that patient is now able to provide evidence of insurance coverage to the hospital, they know they can get their money from the National Health Insurance Agency. Very simple.
Apparently, we can't keep you forever. But I would think that you should also involve the legislators, House of Representatives and Senators, and you should bring out guidelines and share those guidelines with us. So when we go back home, we also educate our constituents and give them those forms to fill and for them to have an idea that such succor is in existence to assist the poorest poor, because it will also save them from embarrassments and death. Then, my final question, which is actually supposed to come from the floor, but it did not come, is that today, many doctors in the employment of the federal government and state governments abandon the general hospitals, abandon the federal government institutions for their own private hospitals. And they also divert. Oh, has he answered? He has answered. He has answered. Okay. In addition, allegations abound that sometimes equipment provided by federal governments find their way into the private clinics of the hospitals or the doctors. So they are getting monthly salaries, but their private clinics are booming, while the government hospitals are empty and patients are dying. What will you do differently to change the orientation so that Nigerians can get the benefit of the funds that federal government continually put into these hospitals and also the state governments?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would actually, it's about the same question that the distinguished senator on the Hall there asked about the role of these doctors having dual interest. They go, work in the public hospital and go to the private hospital to work. Their loyalty is divided. Now, Mr. President, you've added a third tripod to it on the fact that these doctors, beyond abandoning their work, they also use government equipment to go and do their private work. There are lots of problems here. We don't have standard policy and procedures in place to discipline this physician. And that's what the senator said, that the government or NMA, they're very reluctant in confronting the doctor. We have to. They have to be held accountable. That's what happens everywhere to any profession. You have to be held accountable. If you're not held accountable, you do whatever you want. We don't have, and that's why we have to build a robust regulatory body that will hold all these doctors accountable. A member of a senator or an House of a rep member or state assembly member can, if they are constituent and go to complain, exact the complaint that's coming to you, Mr. President, they can call the regulatory agency. This is what I'm seeing in my hospital, in my district in Iyo. Doctors are not there. They abandon the place, they take equipment. The regulatory agency will come unbiased, investigate. If those allegations are found to be true, the doctors will be sanctioned. Their license will get suspended. No doctor, no professional wants their license to be suspended. That's a pathway to feeding, and that's what separates you from lunatism. You want to protect that license. It's making people accountable. That's how we can begin to fix problems like this. Now, I need to quickly answer Senator Mohammed Onaho, distinguished Senator Mohammed Onaho. This is actually sad when you have trauma victims being taken to hospital still alive, and somebody is saying, "Oh, we can't care for you because you need to get a police report." That, as a doctor, the Hippocratic oath that we took, it's first, do no harm. You see a patient that is dying, and you're not caring for that patient. But it's more of a systemic problem and lack of communication. I don't think the way to quickly fix this is to provide policy and procedures that will guide everybody on how to handle accident patients. You don't need police report to treat trauma patients. This will be communicated to the Inspector General, because what happened is that all these healthcare providers are scared. The police will come and prosecute them. That, oh, you've treated a victim, a fraudster, and then what happened? That's what they are afraid of. But even if you're a fraudster, even if you're a robber, and you're not dead yet, it's your right to live. You can be treated, be rescued, be saved, and then be prosecuted. That's it. You don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to treat you because you're a robber," and then you die. You've taken that ability for that person to live into your hand. That is not acceptable, and that's not the way doctors are trained. First, do no harm. Now, let me quickly answer distinguished Senator Mobo's question about NAFDAC and quacks. That actually fits well into distinguished Senator Yaradua's question. Medical liability. There are lots of quacks there. Why there are quacks is that there's no accountability. I can be a nurse today, open a healthcare shop there, start doing deliveries. Nobody's regulating. All the healthcare facilities are not regulated. In Western world, every single health facility must have a license, a license for you to treat. And that license also has different layers. You can be an outpatient clinic. If you want to add surgical operation to it, you have to apply, and they come to inspect the facility that you have. And you don't even get that license once, and they say, "Oh, you got in license 10 years, bye-bye." You get re-inspected every 1 to 2 years. You have to maintain those standards. We need to build quality regulatory body that will take care of this. Now, with regards to NAFDAC, it's a little bit sad to say this. It's beyond these fake pharmaceutical drugs coming in. These fake drugs, these drugs are killing our people. A lot of people are developing kidney failure because of drugs, counterfeit drugs. This is causing more morbidity into our society. And it's very unfortunate to say today, NAFDAC is not functioning the way it should be. It's not functioning. And if I'm given that opportunity, that's one of the first agency that I would totally reform. It's not functioning. NAFDAC is not doing its work. Not doing its work.
At that point, you can see the sincerity of Dr. Alausa I think just like every other person here, I've also been a victim of medical neglect. My first grandchild in 2019 in a federal medical center died through bleeding, was having a drip, and it tissued in the night. There was no help, no doctor, no nurse, and he bled until he lost over 60% of his blood. And almost going mental, he struggled and fell on the floor, was looking for water to drink, and he rolled on the floor outside, entered early morning dew, poured the dew all over his body, and then that's where they found him. By that time, he had gone into a coma. I was on my way to Port Harcourt for the 2019 rally. When they called me, I entered the 32-year-old boy. I struggled. They went to go and bring the defibrillator to attempt to revive the heart. It did not work. And I said, how long? They said it stopped working 8 years ago. I used my hand and struggled with my personal physician. I could not revive him. I had to close his eyes and put him in the mortuary. And then I proceeded to Port Harcourt for the rally. He left behind 3 children. Almost every family has suffered from what is going on in our hospitals. The doctor on duty that night had an emergency in his own private clinic, and he had to abandon the hospital to rush to go and attend to private patients in his own private clinic. So if you are coming in, you can see, we can keep you here till 7, 8, because everybody here wants to ask questions, because the Senate is very concerned. Nigerians are very concerned. The same way we are feeling is the way Nigerians are feeling. And the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration must be a corrective regime. It must be a corrective administration to try to, because health is wealth. Health is wealth. There is no way a country can be wealthy when the people are not healthy. So we want to thank you for sparing your time to share your thoughts with us. You ended well by saying that a lot of things are not working, that even NAFDAC is not working, and that if given the opportunity, you get NAFDAC to work. I think on that note, you can take leave of the Senate. Thank you. Dear distinguished colleagues, the nominee before us, without saying much, just give us a short resume of yourself, and then the distinguished senators will treat you in line with the provisions of the law.
who make it possible for us to be here for this screening exercise. My thanks and appreciation to the President and Commander-in-Chief who found me worthy to be part of these ministerial nominees. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, most distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, Principal Officers of the 10th Senate, Your Excellency, with your permission, let me start the recognition from the senators from my state. I will start with my senator, Senator Ibrahim Hassan Ankombo, Tolban Gombe, the immediate past governor of Gombe State, senator representing Gombe North Senatorial District, and Senator Tony Aro, representing Gombe South. My bosses, distinguished senators of the 10th Assembly, Your Excellency, Mr. President, with your permission, I want to recognize my colleagues, non-serving senators. I will start with Senator Bello Hayatu Gorzo, the former Chief Whip of the National Assembly, Senator Joshua Lidani, Senator Ahmed Hassan Barata, Senator Aidi Giang, Senator Alkali Jajere, Senator Jalo Zarami. Your Excellency, the member representing my federal constituency in the House of Reps is equally here, Honorable Rashid. Former members of House of Reps from my state, Honorable Binta Bello, Honorable Umar Nafada. Your Excellency, let me take us to the last part of the resume. I was a member of the 6th, 7th, and 9th Senate. When I was at the 6th Senate, I was made the Vice Chairman Senate Committee on State and Local Government. When I returned in 2011, I was the Chairman Senate Committee on Nigerian Air Force. In 2019, after the general election, I was made as the Chairman Senate Committee on National Population and National Identity, and an acting Chairman Senate Committee on Industries. Later, I was moved as the Chairman Senate Committee on Trade and Investment. Mr. President, my very bosses, distinguished senators of the 10th Assembly, I am glad to inform you, Mr. President, among the referrals that were made to my committee, 2 have scaled for presidential assent. Copyright Act Cap C28 LFN 2008 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021. Financial Reporting Council Act 2021 Amendment Bill 20 SB 824 was also assented by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief. Mr. President, my bosses, distinguished senators, this is a very brief biography of my resume. Mr. President, with your permission, I raise my case.
Senate Standing Orders 2022 as amended in Order 9 says, privileges are the rights enjoyed by the Senate collectively and by the members of the Senate individually, conferred by the Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act Cap 208 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 1990 and other statutes or by practice, precedents, usages, and customs. So one of the privileges, or one of the main privileges is that when a senator appears in a chamber like this, he will introduce himself for the generality of the public, and thereafter he will take a bow, because it's assumed for him to have been a senator, he's more than qualified to be a minister. After all, he was oversighting ministers. So, and I must also apologize to my colleagues who are representing the nominees, that today we didn't give you much chance to talk about them because we expect you know them. Like him, he was in the 9th Senate, and he was also in the 8th Assembly. He was even in the 6th. So, distinguished Senator, thank you and congratulations on your nomination. You may now exercise your privilege. Take a bow and leave. The whip, the chief whip, do your work.
Order, please. Let's maintain silence. Absolute silence.
Minority whip. Minority whip. The majority whip. Please let it not be the Senate President that does all the work. The chambers must be in absolute solemnity, because this is a very important exercise. These people are to decide the fate of over 240 million Nigerians. Let me welcome His Excellency, distinguished brother and Right Honorable Simon Lalong, former Speaker, former Governor, former this, former that, immediate past Director General of the campaigns of the All Progressives Congress, the largest party in the whole of West Africa, in the whole of Africa, and the ruling party in Nigeria. So we welcome you. We know you, but the public would like to know you more. So if there are things that you feel that the public should know about you, which are not contained in your CV, use the next few minutes to roll them out. Outside that, maybe because you've been a speaker, maybe because you were the DG that brought this government to bear, we may have to do the needful. The floor is yours. 3 times speaker. 3 times speaker. But that does not amount to 1 Senate.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President, very distinguished senators that are here, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I will say to God be the glory. I am here, Simon Lalong. I did primary school, I did secondary school, I read law, master's degree in law. I contested for House of Assembly. After the contesting for the Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association in my state. After House of Assembly, I was elected Speaker 2 times. After the second time, I attempted to be Governor of Plateau State. Again, I was given opportunity 2 times to be Governor of Plateau State. I left as the Governor of Plateau State. But before then, I was appointed as the Director General of the famous campaign that brought in the renewed hope. I thank God, Mr. Senate President recognized that. So today I am before this esteemed Senate. First, while I was Governor, while I was Speaker, I was elected 2 times as the Chairman of the Conference of Speakers of Nigeria. Even when I left, they still elected me as Chairman of former Speakers of Nigeria. I am still up to date, their Chairman. I am very happy that many of my members are before this distinguished Senate. I have seen a few of them as distinguished senators. Mr. Senator Anao is over there. So many of them, association of former speakers, who are now senators, who are now distinguished senators. I moved from there to be a governor. As a governor, I was elected as the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum. And as the Northern Governors Forum, again presided over many of the governors who are now senators that are here. Again, I saw Senator Tambuwal over there. I saw Senator Kyari over there. And many of the senators that are there, whom I interacted with severally. And all of them were chairmen of the Governors Forum, and we worked together, irrespective of our political differences. Even at that, When we were in the National State Assembly, we worked with a lot of them who are in the House of Reps, and today, one-time senators, and they are back again. I've seen Senator Ningi. I've seen a lot of them here. A lot of them. I don't want to mention all, because time is not on our side. At the Governors Forum, I'm very happy that Senator Omai is here, although running away again back to join us, to join us outside. Senator Osita and so many of them that we work together in the party. The greatest moment of my life too was when I was given the opportunity as the Director General of the campaign to bring in the renewed hope. During the renewed hope, I worked with the Senate President, now current Senate President. Mr. President, congratulations. I work with the Deputy Senate President and many of the principal officers that are here. It was not an easy task to bring back a renewed government in Nigeria. But by the grace of God, we brought Shuaibu Ahmed Tinubu and Kashim Shettima. Let me use this opportunity to thank all of you and to thank many of the senators that are here through the campaign that we came back and delivered again a new hope for Nigeria. I will also use the opportunity, lest I forget, to thank our chairman, President Muhammad Buhari and his dear wife. I must also thank Mr. President and his wife, Senator Remy, during the campaigns. And I thank all of you, especially the SPC senators that were here. Although I saw myself as the least among them, but with their cooperation, and today we have a Senate that everybody has a hope that it will be a renewed Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the course of my campaign, I saw the Senate President gave a name. He said he will now be called, yes, Father. But before that, we call him Uncommon Senate President, presiding over an uncommon Senate in an uncommon environment for uncommon Nigerians. And I pray that at the end of the day, Nigerians will have this uncommon hope. I will not forget my senators. I was privileged, and I must extend this gratitude to all of you for electing one of us from my state. The minority leader is from my state. He's now my leader in the state, Senator Mwatko. And the soldier senator, AVM Napoleon, is also from my state. And then the young one, and they say very active too and strong, Senator Dicket Plank, who are three of my senators. I don't want to name a lot of them, because when you go to Benue, you go to Nasara, they will tell you they came through me. But I thank God that they are here. My own is to come back again and express my gratitude to all of you, and to stand here to thank Mr. President for the confidence that he saw in some of us, and he said we must come back and join him again to work as cabinet members of his cabinet. So it's my privilege to come here and extend my gratitude to all of you as I stand and appeal for also an accelerated approval, so that I can quickly join Mr. President like others to work for the common good of this country. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished senators, what you just said was like a State of the Nation address. We are not doing a confirmation today, but it was already given a valedictory acceptance speech. Distinguished Chairman, when you were the Director General of the last campaign, I was actually the Vice Chairman. If I ask you any question, because I can attest to your integrity, I can attest to your capacity. But I want to ask one question. No, not the question. I want to recognize one senator to ask you a question if he has any. And that senator is not Weibo. We are not talking about Romani. We are talking about Lalong. Now, Senator Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bali retired. Is he here? AVM. Here is your senator. Or here is your ministerial nominee and your former governor. Do you have anything to say?
The Senate President, distinguished colleagues, definitely I have something to say. The nominee, who was the former governor of Plateau State, we are from the same senatorial zone. And I can tell you categorically that the senatorial zone, that is where I come from, Napoleon, Binka Valley, Plateau South, we, the people of Plateau South, we are happy with Mr. President for nominating Governor Simon Lalong. And he has read his CV. And honestly, you can attest to the fact that he is vast. So I will solicit. I know the minority leader, who we are all from the same state, will also say it. But my constituency definitely has asked me to request the senators to confirm Governor Simon Lalong as a minister, Federal Republic of Nigeria. On that note, sir, I know as the chairman, Northern Governors Forum, as he said, more or less he has been presiding over the 19 Northern States governors. So definitely I know that he has a clear picture of the insecurity bedeviling this country, the challenges, especially in the northern states. So I will want you to know the kind of quality this my former governor has, because I strongly believe as a lawyer, but there are a lot of lawyers that have come before us. But I think because of the privilege he has to have presided over the 19 state governors, I wish Mr. President will consider him and make him a Minister of Defense. Mr. Nominee, in the event President Bola Tinubu makes you the Minister of Defense, can you please tell me precisely what do you think are the challenges, the security challenges in this country, and what do you have in your cup at the Federal Executive Council, so that we proffer solutions, not just talking, to mitigate the insecurity going on in this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
I must say that I'm very happy that Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bali retired. Not only do you applaud Mr. President for this nomination, you and your senatorial district, where our brother Governor Lalong belongs, all of you are very excited, and they have asked you to support his nomination in totality. But it will be incomplete if I don't ask the minority leader. No, it's not everybody that will speak. If I don't ask the minority leader to say what, but if you want to yield the floor to distinguished Senator DK Plan, but please be very brief, because what I wanted to hear, I have heard, and I will take my decision. Thank you.
The President of the Senate, sitting as chair, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Diket Plan, Senator representing Plateau Central, the Anglican Court of the state. Distinguished colleagues, I am rising again to support in depth the submission made by my colleague, the Senator representing Plateau, South. My former governor, standing as a nominee, is not only a citizen of Plateau South, but the name Governor Lalong symbolizes Plateau State. When his name was pronounced as a senator, my people, as a minister nominee, my people have an idea that this symbolizes systematic hard work reward. I join him to express the gratitude of the people of Plateau Central, and I know Plateau in its totality, to Mr. President for deciding to nominate our leader in whom we are well pleased. My colleagues, Governor Lalong is a humble, compassionate, peace-loving, and inclusive leader. I believe that his nomination will at the end of the day remain a pride for us as people of Plateau and Nigeria. I thank you indeed. This is quite selective. This is quite satisfying to the people of Plateau. And I assure you that by the time he is graciously confirmed, Nigeria will be happy. Mr. President, before I sit down, I do know that you believe in stability. When you came up, your desire is that Nigeria should be cohesive, Nigeria should be together. My former governor symbolizes stability. He is inclusive in governance. And I believe this is a wise choice, and I thank you because I know by us you will be confirmed.
Distinguished colleagues, the minority leader yielded the floor to Senator Plank, and he says he doesn't have anything to add, that all had been said. You want to greet him?
Yep.
Okay, you can greet him and let him take a bow.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I want to align my thoughts with the views of Senator Napoleon Bali and that of Senator Decade Plank. Mr. President, the first list of ministerial nominees that came, Plateau was not found there. We had a meeting, the three of us, and we were thinking of running to your house so that you take us to Mr. President. But the second list came, and we saw the name of Barrister Simon Lalong, the former governor of Plateau State. We were elated, we were happy, and we knew that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done us proud. Mr. President, I'm happy that you have worked together with the nominee, and he has worked with quite a number of senators here in his capacity as the former Speaker of Plateau State House of Assembly and also as the Governor of Plateau State, where he was the chairman of the Governors Forum. I wish he had tested his presence in these red chambers. I would have appealed to my colleagues that as it is with our tradition, that we ask him to take a bow and leave. You don't hear me well, sir.
Thank you so much.
I'm not done, sir. I therefore wish to thank all my colleagues. I'm very confident in the level of his intelligence and his capacity to answer any question, sir. But I know that he has given us his CV. We have seen all that he has done before for this country. And therefore, I wish to recommend to all distinguished senators here that we ask him any question we can ask him and allow him to take a leave of the Senate and leave. Thank you, Mr. President.
Our able Director General Emeritus and very esteemed nominee, there is a particular question that Nigerians will be interested in. I know that security cannot be discussed in public, but at least you can posit some solutions that are generic in nature. Somebody asked that if you were to be given a portfolio that has something to do with the defense of the citizens, what would you do differently in order to ensure that people can sleep with their eyes closed, both in Benue, in the Plateau, in Borno, and even in the southeast and south-south? Just posit a generic answer, and thereafter you step forward and take leave of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I said earlier that I acted as the Director General of the campaign. In this campaign, we drew up a manifesto. That is the manifesto produced by today His Excellency the President of Nigeria. Very robust on how to handle security in Nigeria. In Nigeria. While I was the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, where we had a lot of these issues, we took a document, we took a summary, because we considered this comprehensively, and this was chaired by many security experts, and we produced a document. Mr. President, part of this document was, first of all, to look at the roles of traditional rulers. It was under my watch that we produced a document which we thought that was going to form part of the constitutional amendment to allow traditional rulers to be part of addressing security issues in Nigeria. The second one, Mr. President, is that it is a long time that we did recruitment within our security. We need manpower, but we also need technology. It is a long time, and these are part of the manifesto. Without technology, the wars in the world now are fought on with technology. But you can need humans to man this technology. It was the issue, and I said that the chairman, former chairman of the Governors Forum is here, two of them, and within the Governors Forum produced a document. Now, what was this document? Was to go beyond our traditional issues and to look forward. First, the capacity must be improved of the manpower for the armed forces. Secondly, there must be training and retraining, and then provisions of technology. Today you are seeing Tucano jets. It was part of the request that we must start seeing Tucano jets flying all over. The second one is that drones. People are using drones to the point where we all agree that if it was issue of money, we agree that let the money be deducted from our excess group. Security is very important. If we don't have security, there will be no development. And those were some of the issues that we all agree. And that was why we said we should not leave traditional, in the North, we can't leave traditional rulers out. I pray that we'll have another opportunity for constitutional amendment, and that bill that was kept out will now be reintroduced again. And then, like I said, It's just a matter of summary. But let me not forget, because I saw my comrade friend, Oshomele, Senator Oshomele, who was the Deputy Director of Operation of the campaign. So he's a senator. I'm sure other details he can always produce on my behalf, because the documents are still with him. He has not handed over everything to me. Distinguished Senator Oshomele. So issues of security should be seen to be very, very important. I thank you, my senator, for bringing up this. But at the local situation, I always say that what we did in Plateau, security is not all about shooting. It's not all about that. That is, yes, it's good. But there are local issues, and some of these local issues will have to connect with diversity of the environment. And when it comes, because there you see ethno-religious crisis, it's not only banditry. Where you have ethno-religious crisis, the best way to handle it is through dialogue. It's through dialogue. That is why in my state we introduced the Peace Building Agency. And Mr. President commissioned it and recommended that to every state. Because when two tribes are fighting, it's not soldiers that will come and kill. You have to understand that Nigeria belongs to everybody. And so long as you are peaceful, so long as you are not into criminality, you have a right to live everywhere. And in that kind of situation, like Plateau, where we have 53 ethnic nationalities, it is not easy to govern. But it is easy to govern when you give everybody sense of responsibility, sense of recognition. And that is why in Plateau you have Efik. You have the Efik from Akwa Ibom. You have Yorubas. You have South. You have Fulani. You have different tribes. And in order to have peace in Plateau, you must give them that sense of recognition. That I did in the last 8 years. So if it is local, thank you, Mr. President.
Your Excellency, the nominee, Simon, Lalong, you were almost veering off into campaign. The Senate is made up of all political parties. So the people that even supported you the most are the people from the opposition parties. They are the ones who endorse you. We that work with you, we can't even say anything because they've closed their mouth. They said they support you. And so because they support you, and we have already endorsed you, and we nominated you, you don't need to preach to the converted. Just step forward and then take leave of the Senate. And I wish you luck. It's one Senate. One Senate. That's what I'm saying, one Senate. But if there's something I wanted to mention, but you people are not going to allow me to mention it. Will you allow me? Okay, so I won't mention the fact that Senator Napoleon Bali will be very relieved that he is going into the federal cabinet. Next nominee. Distinguished colleagues, we have before us distinguished Senator Abubakar Kyari, CON, immediate past governor of Kebbi State. Your Excellency, welcome to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I mean, if you can give us a summarized version of your resume, and then your colleagues will now have the opportunity of asking you to enjoy your privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Deputy Senate President, the other Senate leaders, distinguished senators, especially my brothers from Kebbi State, Senator Mohammed Adamu Aleru, Senator Dr. Yahya Abdullahi, and Senator Garba Maidoki. Your Excellency, thank you for varying your rules to stay longer hours in order to help in confirmation hearings as requested by Mr. President. Today I was followed here to support me by the Kebbi State Governor, Dr. Nasiru Idris, who has been with me since 8 a.m. and thank you for allowing him into the chambers. Equally, the National Organizing Secretary of our party, Suleiman Muhammad Argun, as well as other leading supporters from Kebbi. Your Excellency, as you have rightly introduced, my name is Abubakar Kyari, the immediate past governor of Kebbi State, 2 terms governor of Kebbi State. Before then, I was a member of this hallowed chamber, the 7th Senate, and earlier than that, I served 2 years from 2010 to 2011 as member of the 6th Senate, where I replaced distinguished Senator Muhammad Adamu Aleru, who in 2010 left the Senate to become a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Equally, in this period, I was called upon and honored by my colleagues to serve as the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, in addition to a number of ad hoc assignments, which include being vice chairman to President Muhammadu Buhari's the National Food Security Council, which is a council that was designed to ensure that Nigeria keeps an eye on food security. Equally, I was the vice chairman of a presidential initiative to ensure that artisanal gold mining that is fraught with a lot of criminality, rather than the opportunity that is in it, is organized and made to help us organize the sector in order for the sector to contribute its fair quota to our nation. Equally, I have handled a number of party assignments, most being twice the chairman of the campaign committee of Ekiti State gubernatorial elections. And just recently, I was one of the 2 nominees of the president, as he was then president-elect as Shuaibu Audu in the Presidential Transition Council. Your Excellency, I have provided all my schooling and all my employment history, from lecturing to working in banks to being a World Bank scholar and having a stint at the World Bank IMF in Washington, and as well as interest in a number of companies, and while serving at one time as a special assistant to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Kalu Iduka Kalu. If time permits, Mr. President of the Senate, I can continue or I can stop there. Thank you. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Senator Bagudu, and he has given a brief of himself. Is it the view of the Senate that he takes a bow? Senator? Distinguished colleagues, we have before us the immediate past governor of Zamfara State, Bello Muhammad Matawalle, MON. Distinguished nominee, if you have anything to add to your resume, just summarize it briefly for the information of the general public and for the knowledge of all Nigerians. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President, the leadership of the Senate, Your Excellency, permit me to name my senators from Zamfara State, especially the former governor of Zamfara State, Senator Abubakar, and Senator Shuaibu Audu, and Senator Aliyu Bilbis, distinguished senators. My name is Bello Muhammad Matawalle, a nominee from Zamfara State. Your Excellency, let me thank Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for nominating me to be one of the ministers in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And let me thank His Excellency, the Senate President, for admitting me to this chamber for confirmation and screening. Your Excellency, sir, let me thank my former colleagues who are here with me and my friends like Senator Hassan Mohammed Gusau, Senator Binta Masi Garba, and the former Deputy Speaker of the House, Babangida Nguruje, Honorable Khadija Bukar Abba, Honorable Babagana Tijani Banki, and Honorable Mohammed Ahmad Sani. Your Excellency, I'm a former member House of Representatives from 2003 to 2015. I was the Chairman House Committee on Ethics and Privilege of the House from 2003 to 2007. And from 2007 to 2011, I'm a former Deputy Minority Whip, together with one of my colleagues that is here, Honorable and now Senator Ali Indume, and Senator and the former Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, and my friend, Honorable and now Senator Kaus Mawila from Kano. Your Excellency, in 2011 and to 2015, I'm the Chairman House Committee on National Security and Intelligence of the House. In 2019, I became the Governor of Zamfara State. This is short of my resume, which I believe all the senators have my resume with them. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Senator Yari. Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate. As the chair, my distinguished colleagues, I remain Abdulaziz Abubakar Kyari. I represent Zamfara, Mr. President, and from Zamfara State. My brother, a friend, colleague in the House of Representatives, my colleagues, you have heard of him, and as a privilege, Mr. President, we all of us from Zamfara State, we have met and agreed of Muhammad Bello Matawalle. So therefore, I requested Mr. President and my colleagues to allow the privilege as read by the leader of the Senate to take bow and go. Mr. President, I so submit. Distinguished Senator Yaradua.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as the chair. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, representing the good people of Katsina Central. I'm from Katsina State. Mr. President, I rise to support my brother, His Excellency, Senator Abdulaziz Yari, that the nominee before us, having qualified to be one of those that should take a bow, I want to submit that this Senate, my distinguished colleagues, we should allow this nominee who has paid his dues. He has been a member of the House of Representatives. He has also been a governor, and he has told the path of those that have set records in this country. Having lost his election, he conceded defeat just the way the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, did. And I think he has made history, and it is the hope of this Senate that we get more people like them, more politicians who will act, when they are defeated, they save the nation of resources of going to court. So on that basis, I want to support what my brother, His Excellency, has mentioned, that we should allow him to take a bow and go. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Honestly, the gentleman before us is a politician and also a gentleman. And I've heard from you, but he mentioned so many names. As principal officer, he worked with the likes of former Speaker, former Governor of Sokoto State, and also worked with the civil senator from Kano. So I will spare the former Speaker. But let me hear from Ismail Akawu whether he has anything to say before he takes a bow.
Mr. President, my dear respected colleague, I am Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila, OFR, representing Kano South Senatorial District. Mr. President, quite all right. Bello Muhammad Matawalle is our colleague from 2003 to 2015. We served in the 6th Assembly with him as leaders of the House of Representatives. Muhammad Ali Ndime, Senator, as a leader, minority leader. I am a deputy minority leader. Of course, our former Speaker and our Oga as a deputy chief whip of the House of the Representatives. Our current Chief of Staff, Femi Baja, was a member of that leadership. I don't have much to say about Matawalle because we are very close. I know a lot about him. Jokingly yesterday, he told me that if for any reason any senator asks him a question, he will refer the question to Senator Ali Ndime because they are very close, they work together. I don't know, most of us, we don't know what they are doing before they came to the chamber of the House of Representatives, more especially if motions to do with the opposition came in the floor of the House of Representatives. Quite all right, we commend our president, our dear president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for appointing one of us, which we worked together with him for almost 2 decades, 20 years we are with him. And even when he is a governor, he do a wonderful job in curtailing the security situation of Zamfara State vis-a-vis Northwest. Very versatile politician, a philanthropic, a business tycoon, a good friend of the National Assembly, Dr. Bello Muhammad Matawalle, the Matawalle of Maradun, and I can't even mention his traditional titles across the nature, even beyond Nigeria, Niger, Senegal, and other places. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, the Senate. Thank you for approving all of us to be member of the Federal Executive Council. Thank you. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, even from the way you are speaking, it means you were itching to speak. So, Deputy Senate President, you've also been a landlord of the National Assembly, and you have a veteran of the National Assembly. Run off so that he can now take a bow.
Barrow Jibril, Kano North. Mr. President, I am speaking on behalf of former members of House of Representatives who are in the current Senate. I've been mandated to tell this Senate that the nominee before us is someone that has paid his dues to the National Assembly of this country, to his state of Zamfara, and the entire Nigeria. That is a man of integrity, someone who has the passion to always work for his state and his country, and that we should not hesitate to confirm him to be the Minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria. That we are very sure that he will do his best in making robust contribution as a member of the cabinet of our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That we should support him, and we urge all our colleagues to support his confirmation. I say submit, Mr. President. And without further ado, you should be allowed to bow and go.
Well, the distinguished Deputy Senate President, if you wanted him to bow and go, you would not have continued the long speeches. So the reality on ground is that it's a familiar thought for him. He looks forward to meeting all of you. He has worked with you for a long time, and he knows all of you. And he had told me outside before I came in here that if there's any difficult question, I should please refer it to Senator Ndume. So, Senator, the chief whip of the 10th Senate, distinguished Senator Ndume, is there any difficult question so far?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, sir, I would have spoken, but maybe in a closed session. But since I'm not, he knows, Tambuwal, starting from him, he knows what happened. Kawu knows what happened. Leader knows what happened. DSP knows what happened. You know what happened. Yai, where is Yai? That is in our show, you know what happened. You want to know? No. Chairman, I beg you that after taking a bow to the Senate, you should take a bow to us. And let him go. By the privilege of the Senate, let us know what happened. Everybody wants to know what happened.
Is it the view of the Senate that our brother and immediate past governor of Zamfara State, who graciously conceded defeat and stopped unnecessary expenses in court, should take a bow now and take leave of the Senate? Is it a view of the Senate that we should also commend Mr. President for bringing veteran politicians with integrity into the cabinet of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? We now take a bow. Please. No. The nominee. Yes, please. Approach the chair. We have not yet confirmed you. So do what Senator Ndume said. Senator Ndume. Chief Whip, so you said when he's leaving, he should also bow before those of you that know what, that have an idea of what happened that time. So go ahead. Just a bow, not a handshake. Thank you.
I can give it to him. I can give it to him. When he lost election, nothing has happened.
Dr. Yaron? Dr. Yusuf Tango Sununu. Doctor, you know, I met you earlier in my office, and when I came to the House of Reps, I met you. Are you representing somebody or yourself? You are the one. I know I met him there. Congratulations. Congratulations. Please just give us a brief resume of yourself, and then the rest, my colleagues will direct.
Most distinguished Senate President, the Deputy Senate President, the body of the principal officers, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I must also recognize the 3 senators from my state, Senator Adamu Aleru, whom I have been his personal physician for the past 25 years. Also, Senator Garba Meleki and Senator Yahya Abdullahi, and the Executive Governor of Kebbi said that was also here with us this morning. Distinguished Senate President, I was born 56 years ago. I attended Ingeski Primary School, from where I proceeded to Government Science Secondary School. I finished in 1986. I then proceeded to University of Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto. However, due to certain circumstances, the whole of our state was transferred to University of Maiduguri, where I graduated in 1996. I served in Government House Ado Ekiti in 1999. And I came back to Kebbi State, where I served for 6 months at the General Hospital Argungu. From there, I was transferred to be in charge of Government House Clinic and personal physician to the then Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Muhammad Adamu Aleru. After 5 years, I proceeded to do my specialization, and I became a consultant of suspicion and gynecologist in 2010. From there, I came back to the services of Kebbi State government. Thereafter, I got transferred to Federal Medical Center at Running Kebbi, where I also proceeded to learn and practice minimal access surgery in gynecology as a subspecialty. In 2019, I voluntarily resigned my appointment and contested for the post of a member of House of Representatives, and I got elected. I was in the House for 4 years, and then got re-elected in 2023. During my stay in the House, I served as the Chairman House Committee on Healthcare Services, and in the 10th Assembly, I was also elected to the same post. Mr. President, sir, over the last 4 years, I came to realize that the burden in healthcare delivery is serious in the country. And there is need of a special consideration to be given to health. And I also realized in the last 4 years, there is, for health to be safe in this country, there must be a very good alignment between legislation and the executive, and I think that's the best way we can go out. And also we need to reprioritize and restore confidence, because right now the major problems in healthcare delivery has to do with confidence. Mr. President, sir, it will interest you to know that people will leave primary health center next to their door and move for many kilometers to go and waste time just to be consulted for malaria And also we realize that even in the tertiary hospitals, the confidence, especially of the elite group, is also not there. So what is needed is to see how we can organize the healthcare, and I believe the basic way we can do that is to strengthen our national health insurance in the country. I'm told I also participated actively in drafting in further legislative activities that made it possible to have national health insurance authority in the country. And I believe that with Senate, there are areas that I know, even Mr. Senate President, a comment when I was listening, the issue of indigent people. It is my appeal that the National Assembly will consider the need for indigent funds to be so encroached in our budgetary line, and that will go a long way in sustaining this. Mr. President, I'm a passionate of girl-child education and girl rights. Just recently, child education has been a problem in my constituency, and since I came and I was voted, Mr. President, I've been shouldering about 700 girl-child education, girl-child support in terms of scholarship support. Mr. President, also reduced maternal mortality that has been so drastically affected in my constituency. I introduced free cesarean section, and as of today, we have operated over 2,895 women free of charge, and I also came with policy of restoring site for 500 patients, and Your Excellency, I would say that so far we have done 517, and we are planning to do another 200. By and large, I quite believe that in terms of the strategy of healthcare delivery in the country, the primary healthcare system must also be integrated and also must be addition. And there is very good of alignment. What I realized over the time is that at times legislation are passed with a federal character aimed to be at national, and the state are not carried along, and you find that buying in of the state governments become very, very difficult. For example, the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund that has been mentioned is a provision in the 2014 National Health Act of Nigeria, and Your Excellency, you find that the counter fund becomes so much difficult for the state to pay. Therefore, even at our own level as the committee, we have to come with a strategy that we are going to see how the state can get buy-in. And then on final note, I quite agree that alignment is very, very important. I want to cite a very good example of where alignment has functioned very well. Mr. President, when the COVID-19 came, it became a serious issue. And I believe that is what major challenge that faced healthcare delivery in the country. In order to attempt, when we came, we only have 4 molecular laboratories that can diagnose COVID-19. When the amended, the supplementary budget came, it came with a policy of having at least 3 molecular laboratories per state and per geopolitical zone. And the question raised by our committee then was, who will be responsible in terms of manpower? Who will be responsible in terms of management and control? And the answer really became obvious that there is a serious gap. Because of the alignment between National Assembly and this, we had a review meeting, and that budget was now appropriated to take care of the 54 tertiary general hospitals in the country. And as today, one would be proud to say that every tertiary hospital of the federal government can diagnose and handle the issue of molecular diagnosis in the country. So also through that alignment, we have isolation centers and intensive care units all over the country. And therefore, I quite believe that where there is good understanding, amendment to benefit the country is something that is not only visible but can be easily done. I therefore also want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President for finding me very worthy to be given the chance to serve as member of Federal Executive Council of Nigeria, and also to thank all those that have mentored me over the time to be where I am today. And I must be grateful that over the last 4 years in the House, I have learned a lot and I've learned a lot to do. On this note, I want to thank you very much for giving me this rare opportunity to appear before you, to present myself as a nominee of Mr. President for the appointment as a Federal Executive Council member. Thank you very much.
The Right Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tango Sununu, I must thank Mr. President for your nomination on behalf of the Senate, and to say that yes, We are just screening. We are not confirming yet. We'll still take a look at your resume and if there's any petition or others in totality in closed session before we come out with a confirmation and approvals. So, but for now, we believe strongly that your nomination shows the importance the current president places on healthcare delivery, because you are the second person we are interviewing today who has a lot of knowledge in different aspects of health. Yes, I think the six medical doctors. The last person that came was an expert in nephrology. You know, something about kidneys and all that. And I've done a lot in that direction. And you just confirm here now that you have done over 2,000 cesarean sessions almost free of charge for your people. So we want to plead that God Almighty will continue to imbue you with good health and with the heart for humanity to contribute more. And if confirmed by this Senate, please take the same zeal that you serve your community, your federal constituency, into serving the entirety of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You may now step forward, take a bow, and go back. Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Honorable Zephaniah Jisalo from the FCT. Our brother, we have your resume. But if I would like you to do a summarized version of your resume, and if you have anything else to add that is not contained in the resume, and you want Nigerians to know, you go ahead and say so. But I must say that since the inception of the current democratic practice in 1999, I think this is the first time we are having the Federal Capital Territory being given a ministerial slot. And for this, we must commend the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has come in to correct the wrongs of the past. I can see you are accompanied by veterans, including our very distinguished brother. When he joins our party, I'll mention his name. You have the floor.
The President of the Senate, the man we cherish, the Deputy Senate President, Mount One Senator Ireti Kibe, Your Excellency, permit me, let me mention some of my colleagues that I was a member of Assembly 7 and Assembly 8. I've seen Senator Tambal, who was my speaker. I've seen Barry Mbi. I've seen Mangono, Senator Darlington. I've seen, Your Excellency, I didn't meet the Deputy Senate President, but I know he's a member of the House of Reps. And some of them, that even when I was a chairman, I know them of local government. But let me still mention, the minority leader, Manko was my colleague in Assembly 7, Senator Karimi, Senator Onao, Senator Kao, Senator Solomon, Mangono Hassan, Senator Sunday. I've mentioned your name, sir. I've mentioned your name. And seven of you, sir. The leader. We are all in Assembly 7. Senator Bami Dele. Let me mention the only man from Borno State. So. Yes, sir. Your Excellency, the Senate President, let me put it in this way. Let me use this opportunity to thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the Vice President, Senator Shetima Kasim, for nominating me from FCT to be part of Federal Executive Council. It is a history that the good people of FCT will never forget this gesture. Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Zephaniah Jisalo. I'm a member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR. I'm born into the family of Mr. and Mrs. Kusa Gariki Jisalo. I'm from Gariki village in Abuja Municipal Council of the Federal Capital Territory. I'm a grandson of His Royal Highness Jisalo Daudu Sape Gariki, Abuja, his blessed memory. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, the Holy Bible of Zephaniah describes my name as the Lord Mighty Save. I'm married to Mrs. Zephaniah Florence Jisalo. I'm blessed with 3 children. 1, Kusa Solomon Zephaniah Jisalo, Jisalo Justice Zephaniah, and the only daughter, Anne Zephaniah Jisalo. She's a student of a medical student in one of our universities. Your Excellencies, let me mention that I was a local government chairman Abuja Municipal Council in 2000. I started in INEC 1990 to 2002, and I left INEC to get into politics, and I become the chairman of Abuja Municipal Council for 6 years. Your Excellencies, I left AMAC to come to the Great Chamber. I was elected as a member of Assembly 7, 2011 and 2015. I served in so many committees. If I can mention, appropriation, considered outreach, Niger Data NDCC, FCT Area Council and Auxiliary Matters, Committee of Defense, Committee of National Security and Intelligence, and Committee of Sport. I'm also a member of Assembly 8. I have served as the Chairman Committee on FCT Area Council and Auxiliary Matters, also serve in Committee of FCT, Committee of Nigeria Army, Committee of Custom Service, Committee of Federal Capital Commission, Committee on Water Resources, Committee on Public Account, Committee on Public Safety and Intelligence. I also serve in the ad hoc committee on Constitutional Review. Your Excellencies, I'm happy that I was a candidate on the All Progressive Congress, APC, of the Federal Capital Territory in 2019 general election. I lost to my brother, Senator Philip Aduda. He also lost recently. He's here with me. Your Excellency, the Senate President, I was honored by Mr. President to be the coordinator of APC Presidential Campaign Council 2023 general election, Tinubu-Shetima general election. So I was the coordinator who coordinated the election of the FCT and were able to defeat at least the PDP in FCT that we think they are the one leading the FCT. I'm happy. Well, Labour, I don't want to mention. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the Senate President, I'm happy. I'm from this home, Parliament. I will not forget this home. Wherever I go, I know that I know where I come from. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, you have the nominee in front of you. Do that before 12 midnight. So it's important that we do a thorough job. And I didn't want to mention Senator Aduda, but he's the one that said Senator Aduda lost. But I don't think he lost. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. He came here because he's very happy with the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won. So, distinguished Senator Aduda, thank you for supporting the President and supporting the nominee. This had always been your prayer, that the FCT should have a nominee. Now, FCT has a nominee. The confirmation or rejection is left to the Senate, and we shall communicate it to you in due course. But is there anybody that has a question? Okay. We must be sensitive to the feelings of our colleagues. Distinguished Senator Ajay Kingibe, you want to ask a question?
Standing Order 10, I'm Distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe, not Distinguished Senator Haji Kingibe. Just light correction on my name. And I would like to commend and support my nominee.
Stop. To correcting the interpretation of your name by the Senate President. Because our rule is very clear. Our rule is clear that it's the Senate President that does the interpretation of our rules. So, if I interpreted your name to include Hajia, are you questioning the interpretation by the Senate President? Anyway, you can proceed.
I would like to, first of all, congratulate my nominee and all of FCT for this nomination. We are all extremely happy and proud. We would like to thank the President and the Vice President for actually making this a reality, something we have been wishing and hoping for a very long time. I would also like my distinguished colleagues that my nominee comes highly recommended. I have known him for so many years. Before he became local government chairman, he went through 2 terms. After that, 2 terms in the House of Rep. So he is well known to me and definitely qualified to be minister. And therefore, I will urge all of you, according to the protocol that we have been following, that as a member of the House 2 terms, that he should also take a bow. And that's what I want to say. We are so happy that I'm actually speechless, which you all know I'm never speechless. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe. And my distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that the nominee should take a bow? Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Prince Abubakar Audu Jr. If we have your resume, if there is anything that you want to add to your resume to enable the Nigerian public know about you and all our distinguished brothers and sisters, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio. Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Barau Jibrin. Your Excellencies, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, Mr. Senate President, with your permission, I would like to specifically acknowledge the senators from my state, the 3 senators from my state. I'd like to start with the senator from Kogi Central Senatorial District, Senator Abubakar Sadiq Ohere. Then I'll move to the senator from the Kogi Western Senatorial District, Senator, distinguished Senator Steve Karimi. And very importantly, the distinguished senator from my own zone, which is Kogi East, and my father-in-law. My father-in-law, yes.
distinguished Senator Jibril Issa Echocho. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, I would also like to use this opportunity to specifically thank the Executive Governor who deemed it Alhaji Yaya Adoza Bello, the White Lion of Kogi State. I would also like to acknowledge our APC governorship candidate, Alhaji Usman Ododo, as well as the rest of the entourage here this evening. Your Excellencies, distinguished senators, my name is Prince Shuaibu Abubakar Audu. I was born on 6th of November 1980. So I'm 42 years old, to the family of late Prince Abubakar Audu and late Hajia Habibat Rebecca Audu. Prince Abubakar Audu was a colleague of many of you distinguished senators here today. He was also a colleague of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you all this evening. I would like to talk through my resume very briefly. I went to primary school in Plateau Private Primary School from 1986 to 1991 in Jos Plateau State, following which I went to Command Secondary School for 3 years, from 1991 to 1993. Command Secondary School in Kaduna. I then moved on to Igbinidion Secondary School in Benin City, Edo State, where I wrote my SSCE, Senior Secondary School Certificate, and graduated with 7 A's and 1 C. I then proceeded to the United Kingdom, where I went to the University of Leicester for 4 years. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business economics with a 2-1 degree. I went further to do my master's in MSc International Securities and Investment Banking from Henley Business School, University of Reading, UK. I then capped it off with a master's degree and MBA degree from the University of Oxford, United Kingdom. As you all know, University of Oxford is one of the finest universities in the world, and also the oldest university in the English-speaking world, at over 800 years old. My professional career over the last 20 years was spent in investment, corporate and investment banking, as well as asset and pension fund management. I spent the last 20 years at Stanbic IBTC Bank. I joined the then Investment Banking and Trust Company in the Global Markets Division, or Treasury Division, for 2 years, where I traded fixed income securities and bonds. I then moved on subsequently to the pensions business when the Pensions Reform Act was signed into law by the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, we went ahead to set up Stanbic IBTC Pension Managers Limited, which is currently the largest pension fund administrator in Nigeria. I helped to set up the investment management desk, where I was the head of the investment management team. I then moved on to the asset management business of Stanbic IBTC, where I rose to become an executive director at the asset management subsidiary. The asset management subsidiary is also the largest asset management business in Nigeria. I also carried out that role concurrently with being appointed the Chief Executive Officer of the venture capital business at Stanbic IBTC, of which financials reported directly to the investment banking business. During my 20-year career, I spent some time at Bank of New York Mellon in conjunction with the banking company I was working with to manage the CBN FX reserves. There was an arrangement that was signed back then, which has since terminated. That arrangement allowed me to work and do some trainings at Bank of New York Mellon in Boston, Massachusetts. I also spent some time at Credit Suisse First Boston, in the global headquarters at Zurich, Switzerland, where we helped to manage over $800 million of the CBN FX reserves. Having spent the last 20 years in investment banking and asset management, I decided to take all the skills I had gathered from the private sector to participate in partisan politics. And I ran for governor of Kogi State at the recently concluded elections, at the recently concluded primary elections in Kogi State. I was one of the leading candidates. There were 18 of us that went in, and I finished in 4th position. Initially, I had gone to court to challenge the outcome, but being a party man, and the fact that I remembered that my father, Prince Abubakar Audu, was one of the founding members of the All Progressives Congress in 2013, I wanted a solution that was in the best interest of the party, and decided to withdraw my court case and wholeheartedly support our governorship candidate. Having supported our governorship candidate, we also used the opportunity to thank the President of the Federal Republic for deeming it fit to nominate me as a ministerial nominee. I think this is the message to the world that the President is a talent hunter, and the President believes in giving the youth of Nigeria an opportunity to excel in their areas of competence or desire. And I want to also thank the governor of Kogi State for deeming it fit to put my name forward to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to nominate me as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think I'll stop there and just use that opportunity to thank all the distinguished senators that are here today. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Prince. Prince, we welcome you and we thank Mr. President for this nomination. May the soul of your late father rest in perfect peace. And we also acknowledge the presence of the white elephant, white lion, and one of the youngest governors ever produced in Nigeria, Governor Bello. I always tell you, you ran before the not too young bill was passed into an act of parliament. So welcome to the chambers. I know that everybody in Kogi would like to say something, but let me start with Senator Kyari.
Thank you, our esteemed President, my distinguished colleagues. Thank you, my governor, for being here. Mr. President, my colleague, the man before you is a well-schooled, well-mannered man. You can see his CV. There is no any adulteration in this CV. We are very proud of him. His NYC is very clean. Mr. President, I want to recall an incident in Kogi State in 2019. We had an election that was well conducted and running to an end. Suddenly, around 4-5 a.m., 2015, suddenly around 4-5 a.m., on the following day, the man that was winning the election, suddenly, he was no longer gave up. This is the man, this is the son of the man. And the man contributed a lot to Kogi State. He loved our state so much, he gave his all for Kogi State. Having his son as a minister is a tribute to the man.
So, in other words, you are lost for words. And you want to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for going back to that heritage to produce a son of that family as an incoming minister, if confirmed by the Senate. Thank you so much for your contribution. Distinguished Senator Ningi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi State. Let me join you, Mr. President, in congratulating the young minister nominee, Prince Shuaibu. I don't like to call him a boy, but he's a young man that we are all proud of. And also thank President Ahmed Bola Tinubu for looking at young men like that. Mr. President, Shuaibu is from Kogi State. And anytime I pass through Lokoja, two things comes to my mind. One, as a confluent state, and you see the water passing under that bridge, and you visit other countries of the world, especially developed countries, places like that are supposed to be a tourist attraction. And I want to ask Shuaibu whether he also imagines so, and if he does that, if he's a Minister of Trade and Tourism, what does he think of making Kogi a tourist attraction? My second question too has to do with the resources of Kogi as a fish producing community. It is a fishing producing community that is still archaic. You pass through Lokoja, you see a lot of fish, but there are no storage, there are no equipment, so there are no means of processing. So if you are made the Minister of Water Resources, what do you think you can do for your people in order for them to be able to have the state of the art in the fishing industry? Because you are a well-traveled man, I'm sure you see the fishing business in America, in Sweden, in Netherlands, what in Morocco, and even in Algeria. What will you do if you are made Minister of Water Resources and then you are saddled with that responsibility? That's my question.
Distinguished Senator Naida.
Thank you, Mr. President. My learned colleagues, I'm Neda Imaswain, Senator representing Edo South Senatorial District. Prince Audu, I congratulate you for this nomination. I recognize that you attended one of the finest schools in the world, beginning from your foray at the Igbirijo Education Center in Benin. Congratulations. Now, given your experiences in banking, I don't know what portfolio you'll be assigned to, but I want to think that you also will be in one of the advisory councils in economics of this country. What will you do to address this issue of our Naira devaluation? Because it's actually affecting trade and commerce and the overall well-being of Nigerians. What exactly will you do to help the President and the Economic Council in addressing the issue of our Naira devaluation? Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Salako.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I want to put before you this afternoon or this evening that we have one of the most qualitative nominees, finest ever presented by any regime in this country standing before you today. Mr. President, I am proud of my product and he's open to any question. Mr. President, we have here Prince Shuaibu from Kogi State, well experienced and well trained with background on business, education, and economy. Mr. President, our duty this afternoon as a senator from Kogi State is that we are united to appeal to our colleagues to please accept this nominee as a nominee of the Senate, bearing from the fact that the nominee standing before you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is an in-law to one of us, who has paraded very extensive credentials, and above all,